Hello and happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of On the Wrong Lead Live, where we go ahead and take a look at all of the big racing this weekend. I'm joined as always by, well, not as always, because I don't fucking know where these guys have been all month. I swear, I've been I had to do a stream with just me and Mark last week. What the hell is going on? But we are about 3 weeks out from Breeders' Cup, 4 weeks out. I think everyone has actually bought a plane ticket at this point, except for maybe PDT. Who knows if PDT bought a plane ticket? I know Stephen Fox is in chat. Stephen Fox has got a first class ticket to Denver. No meme. And we got Breeders' Cup coming up here, and this weekend we obviously disagreed on what to look at this weekend, since I originally thought that, hey, let's take a look at Belmont. But Mr. Naira himself, Mark Capitan, goes, Josh, are you sure you don't want to look at Keeneland? And
I mean, that's not quite how it happened. Let's what actually happened was Caleb said, "Hey, this duck card's garbage," and I was like, "It's fine. I mean, it's ducked, middle of whatever October." And then Caleb said, we sort of looked and we said, well, the Keeneland's card's a little better. And I would think that, talking about our audience, probably more of them are going to be taking a look at Keeneland, just giving that it is kind of the feature track in North America right now. So we audibled and decided we talk a little more Keeneland and a little bit less Aqueduct. I think also we have quite a few tournament players that do watch, and if you're a tournament player, you're probably more focused on Keeneland because there are a lot of tournaments going through Keeneland this time of year. BCBC, NHC, all the other acronyms that everybody's trying to turn there's a freaking major tournament. It's like a 3,500 for Carter weekend of all things. Like they've turned everything into a tournament weekend these days. So we're going to talk a little bit of the duct and quite a bit more Keeneland. Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah. Oh, look at this. My. Nick Feldman, Hall of Famer Nick Feldman is in the chat. Good to see Nick Feldman here.
I was hoping for the other Nick, honestly. And no diss to Nick Feldman. Nick Feldman's the man. But I'm just where's Sievers when I need to give him crap? I mean, so
he's lurking somewhere.
He'll be around somewhere. Yeah.
Caleb, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, we are hanging in there. You guys know, and as our viewers will tell in no time, I am fighting off a cold, so I'll be as good as I can with the mute button and not cough into the mic 24/7 unless Mark is giving some bullshit opinion, in which case I'll proceed to cough, rightly speaking.
You'll be probably coughing a lot given this yeah, there's lots of coughing.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. No, I took a look at the sequence. Honestly, man, this sequence was fucking tough. I thought the sequence was rough. I tend to think that I can normally at least find a couple of races where I'm not going, 3-4 wide in a leg, and I think I literally went at least 3 wide in every leg in this sequence. So I think it's going to be pretty tough, and including race 5, because we're actually going to cover the pick 6, and not necessarily because we're going to be betting the pick 6, although we do have a double carry going into Friday. If we get a triple carry, I mean, then I think we are playing this pick 6, but let's cover the turf pick 3, which I still think is one of the best bets. Oh, look at this. Nick Sievers showing up. He gets the text and he's in here. So we have Hall of Famer Nick Feldman, and we also have Hall of Famer Nick Sievers. He's in the Reddit Discord Hall of Fame with enshrined with the meme. So
He's also the best tournament stalker I've ever met. He will literally reply to me with with how I finished in a tournament before I've seen it. And this is a tournament I'm actively playing, and he's just somehow spectating, and he's more up to date than I am. It is impressive. So,
All right.
skill.
Well, we got a lot of races to cover, so I'm going to go ahead and get our PPs up here. Provided to us by DRF. Obviously, check them out, drf.com. They do have their Breeders' Cup packages up. Save $38 on either package. So either I think it's like I think they have their Breeders' Cup package. And I think they have like a Players package. One's got like the clocker reports and everything. The other one just gets you the regular PPs. But you have pre-entries with both of them. Mark, you're going to say?
I was gonna say, as somebody who buys it every year, buy the more expensive package because it comes with clockers. Clockers for Breeders' Cup are huge, especially on the Friday card, and it's nice to have the full package. Like I just like to have everything. Like pull it out, check, read it through, and it's also really nice because they'll have the bias data in there for Dalmar, which is it can be really helpful on the Breeders' Cup.
All right. Well, we're going to start here with a 3-year-old filly turf stakes at Belmont before we move on to Keeneland. We got the 1 graded stakes here at Belmont. Why am I forgetting the name? Oh, the Glen Cove. Your morning line favorite in here is Love Servier here at 5-2 for Manny Franco and Miguel Clement. And then you kind of, I don't know, you get kind of a flat board. You get 4-1 in Pop Idol, 5-1 in Anascol, 8-1 Abriant. I have no idea. 8-1 It Ain't 2, and yeah, then you kind of get your price on everybody else. You know, I thought this was kind of a very, very flat race. I had kind of a hard time making heads or tails of any of this. I really like the 5 Pop Idol. Surprise, surprise. I picked the speed. I picked the speed in this race. But you know, this is a horse that I think has done his best running in New York. You know, obviously that race 2 back at Saratoga looked really good. Got a 1:11 time form for her efforts in that one. Went over to Woodbine. Kind of regressed a bit. But I think coming back here to the States, I mean, George Weaver's really, really good with these turf sprinters. Obviously, you get Johnny Velasquez, who last rode this horse to that win 2 back. So I kind of like Johnny Velasquez getting back aboard here and you know, taking the speed in this 6 furlong race. So that's kind of where I landed in this race. I don't know how much money I'm going to have going through this, but I'll probably peruse the late pick 5 in here. But Mark, what did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I kind of landed on the same horse you did, Josh, with Pop Idol. You know, I thought of the favorites. You know, I mean, I don't want to dunk on Aragona because he is by far and away the best odd lines maker out there. But I thought he probably has the 2 and the 5's final odds kind of flipped here. You know, I think you just sort of draw a line through Pop Idol's last race. I don't know if it was the ship. I don't know if it was the new surface. I don't know if it was going 5 versus, you know, it could be just an argument that maybe she does want this 5.5 sort of 6 furlong trip. But you know, she had been in really, really, really good form for a lifetime. And you know, I think she'll handle this stretch out to, you know, quote unquote stretch out to 6 just fine. She should be your controlling speed. She should get a little looser here than she did in the last out race north of the border. So I think she's your you know, your, at least for me, your most likely winner. I thought the 2 is really interesting in here too. You know, I thought those 2 kind of, you were saying you thought it was a flat race, Josh. I kind of looked at it the other way. I thought it was really kind of a 2-horse race. I think one of those 2, the 2 or the 5, wins this probably 9 out of 10 times. I'm sure Caleb's going to tell me I'm an idiot and make a case for some 30-1 that makes a ton of sense. But was that an anticipated cough at me being, you know?
I forgot to unmute.
You forgot to unmute. Damn it. No. So tell me how I'm an idiot, Caleb.
No, I actually, in general, agree with you. I think you have the right 2 horses. I do prefer Love Servier. I think she probably will be your favorite personally. She's just been a little more accomplished. I mean, she's 2 for 2 at Belmont or at Aqueduct here. I think she's a better 6 furlong horse compared to a horse maybe like, you know, a few others that are in here. Pop Idol did get the job done at Saratoga in the Galway. I thought that was a bit of an oddly run race. I mean, she went off at 18-1 that day. You know, got the job done, but I thought Love Severe had a pretty dumb ride, honestly. I mean, just being way too far back and then crazy wide into the turn. Again, I thought that Love Severe had a terrible ride last out at Kentucky Downs where Rosario kept her buried on the fence for way too long. By the time he got her in the clear, I mean, she was swallowing ground late and flying, but it was just the race is already over. So I do think she's probably the most likely winner, but after getting beat as the favorite twice, I don't blame anyone for trying to look for a way around her. Pop Idol probably is your controlling speed. I am a little more bothered by her race at Woodbine last out. And maybe that's just because, I don't know that I necessarily know where that Saratoga race came from, because to me, the Saratoga race kind of is the outlier on her form. I mean, everything else she's run has been quite a bit slower than that. So she's a hard one to gauge because that was her first start as a 3-year-old. Did she just bounce off that big effort at Woodbine, or I don't know what happened. But I mean, she does merit respect as controlling speed. The only other one I'm probably going to look at using is the number 4, Me Governor. I love betting, Ricardo Santana this year. He's been outstanding. This is a horse that, likes to win, 3 for 7 on turf, does have a win here at Belmont at the Strip from last year in the Sweet Memories, I think it was. And I mean, versatile, probably gets first run on Pop Idol, but doesn't need the lead. If Pop Idol is not as good as she was 2 back, I think Me Governor ends up working out the best trip and isn't, that much slower than the others in this field. So for me, it's kind of a 2.5 horse race. I say half because of Me Governor, but I will be using that horse 6-1.
Yeah, so the only other horse that we didn't talk about that I am a little interested in, I know Josh was apparently doing something, so I figured to hop in, but is the 3-horse Flat Out Time. Obviously first-time turf horse, and you don't love to bet a horse at a short price or anything, doing something for the first time, but you're going to get a little bit of a price here. You're going to get probably that 10-1 range. I think at 10-1, this horse is playable. Horse that's trending in the right way. The last 4 figures have all gotten quite a bit faster. You're getting a horse that seems to be, it has some pedigree to handle the turf. My biggest concern is I haven't seen the early speed. I'm worried that they're going to have a little too much to do in the lane with this one, but I thought that they clearly kind of got the pieces figured out here. They took a shot in the prior S, realized they're just not as good as some of the better sprinters in the division, and they're going to try the surface switch. So I thought Flat Out Time was a little bit interesting. And again, this is a little bit of a case of this race is not the A tier of this division. This is sort of the horses that are not going to go to the Breeders' Cup, that sort of B tier of this turf sprint division. So this is the one that I think on the surface switch is at least a little bit interesting.
I see Steve Fox asking if Manny is bettable again.
I mean, it's winter duck. He's like a 30% jock here. So, I mean,
Caleb did not cough.
This is kind of where he makes his money.
All right. Well, let's move on to Keeneland, because we got 6 races to get through here. We're going to start in race 5 here, the 5.5 turf sprint for 2-year-olds, maiden special weight. 110K here. We're going 5.5 furlongs. And your morning line favorite in this race is going to be the 10, Triskelion. 5-2 there on this horse. And then you get 9-2 on Lady Jansis. You get 6-1 at Bella Liberty, 6-1 at High Street Pizzazz, 8-1 on Map of the Moon, double digits on the rest. 8-1 on Super Dreamy. Then you get double digits on the rest. Mark, I'll let you start here. Where did you land?
Yeah, so, I think if you look at this, I mean, we're basically covering the pick 6 here. And I think if you end cap this pick 6, I thought the first race and the last race were really, really, really tough. Obviously, this is a maiden race. I don't have a lot of information to go on here. So you're just kind of chasing your tail and try to find, interesting angles. Triskelion, I know, was the morning line favorite. I want absolutely no part of that horse, and it's nothing that the horse, I'm trying to say the horse can't win, but my gut is that there's somebody else in here that either takes a big step forward, or is a loaded firster, just given the depth of the field, the quality of the field, and some of the horses that are in here. I don't have anything horribly against the horse. The horse should be 5-1, not 5-2. So, I'll give you three that I'm interested in. Start off with two that I'm a little less interested in. The first one is the Royals horse, Nelson's Penny, with Kendrick aboard. Horse ran a pretty decent debut at Saratoga. Was not disgraced. Gets Kendrick up, who's been riding absolutely phenomenal. I think Caleb mentioned Santana having a really good year. Kendrick's also having a really, really good year. Definitely take a step forward with his riding. And this is one that they got the debut out of the way, and Amos is about 20% with Maiden's second time out. So I thought this one was an interesting horse. Again, one of these that needs to take a step forward, but basically everybody in this field is going to be doing that. The other horse that I thought was a little bit interesting in here was the 3, Super Dreamy, with Pratt getting up for Whitworth Beckman. Dyslexia at his name. Sorry about that. I don't know why Flavian's here on this horse unless this horse is very well meant in this spot. They're not connections with a ton of history. This isn't a horse that kind of screams off the paper at you. There's no real connection angles or anything. It's just sort of this like, why is Pratt here unless this horse is just really super live? But there's some sort of head scratchingly bad angles for Beckman. So I thought it was just an interesting player on the fact that Pratt sort of lands here. And the other horse that's going to be my top choice in here is the 6 horse, Bell of Liberty, for Joe Sharp. Again, Jose Ortiz has had a really tough start to the meet. I don't necessarily know if he's been riding poorly. It just seems like he's been on a lot of mounts that he just has no horse. But if you watch Joe Sharp with Jose up at Saratoga, they were absolutely lights out. And I think of Jose's 2 wins on the Keeneland meet so far, I think one of them was on a Joe Sharp horse. So, I think this horse is probably pretty well met here. 285K purchase. The pedigree is a little bit interesting, not what you kind of think to land in this sort of spot, but I kind of trust in the connections, and Joe Sharp is not the most live first trainer, but a very, very solid trainer overall. So, I think my top 3 are the 1, the 3, and the 6. But there's a lot of ways you can go in here.
Yeah, and interesting about Jose is I think he the stats I see have him with 2 wins on the meet, but I know he won like back-to-back races today, so I think he's got a couple more wins today. I think because I think I hit on the Jose Ortiz double.
Okay.
But Caleb, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, this is a tough race, and I don't have a great opinion here. The one that Mark mentioned that I do like is the number 1, Nelson's Penny. I thought this horse ran fine in debut. Kind of was a little bit green, ran like a horse that maybe needed a start. I don't love her drawing the rail here. That's my only kind of hesitation. But nevertheless, I do think that having that experience is going to prove to be pretty important in a race like this. The race she exited, I mean, the winner and second place finisher both came back to win out of that race. So that's a pretty strong maiden affair at Saratoga. So I think that I don't think you'll get 10-1 on this horse, but I do think you'll get a fair enough price in the 9-2, 5-1 range. And I think that's still fine for me, honestly. I couldn't quite get there with the 3 and the 6. I mean, Whitworth Beckman, I always get them mixed up. He's like 1 for 30 with first-time starters on turf. Not a huge sample size, but just I'd like to see a little bit more. And then with the 6, I mean, I initially had this horse down, but then I kind of dug a little deeper, and I'm like, well, Jose's been cold, and Independence Hall has been atrocious as a first-time starting sire. He's 1 for 37 with his first-time starters as a freshman sire. So tough one for me to get to. I mean, maybe this is the horse that goes 2 for 38, but not a ton of turf pedigree there either way. So for me, I used the 1 as we talked about, and I kind of like begrudgingly ended up on the 10, which is not a horse I would normally go towards. But this is a horse that ran fine in debut, had some traffic, had some trouble. Still ran a good third in a 10-horse field, and then got bet down to pretty heavy favoritism at Kentucky Downs. And ran okay, just couldn't quite make up enough ground late to get to the winner there. But was well clear of the rest of the field as a pretty clear-cut second place. It is curious that Pratt gets off here, but this horse is, coming in with experience, has a good draw, I think, a tactical running style. George Arnold, I mean, not a stat I give a ton of attention to, but, last out beaten favorite, he's 47%. Looks like he's 9 for 19. So, typically when his horses take money and don't win, they're pretty live next time out. So I kind of ended up on the 1 and the 10 in here. If I go much deeper, I'd probably end up buying most of the race, which if I play the pick 6, maybe I will. But this was just a really wide open race where nobody would really surprise me.
I kind of split the difference between you guys. So I took the Caleb approach here. Although I guess Caleb, if I would have gone, you would have split the difference between me and Mark. So I don't know. Maybe it's just the order we went in. I landed on 2 horses as A's. I got the 3, Super Dreamy, and I got the 10, Triskelion. George Arnold loves Keeneland. I mean, this man, he always has live horses at the Keeneland meet. He's got 6 starters to start the meet. He's got to win in a second, right? So he always points to this meet. And yeah, just kind of looking, like when I started kind of digging in this race, because like I took a look at this race and I'm like, well, I like the 10. The 10 makes some sense. And I'm trying to make a case for everybody else, and so I'm like starting to go through. I'm starting to go through like pedigrees and stuff like that for these, and like I don't know, like everything was just pointing to this 10, right? I mean, Leinster hasn't had a huge sample, but DRF's got Leinster as 25% on turf. I'm looking at turf sprints. He's 21%. He's got 3 starts or 3 wins in 4 seconds in 14 starts. So he has gotten off to a good start as a freshman sire. So I'm gonna kind of go with it there. Obviously, the Kentucky Downs form is kind of I thought held up pretty decently so far. So especially here at Keeneland. So I like this horse here coming in from Kentucky Downs. I was a little curious with Pratt getting off, and he jumps to the 3, which is kind of why I kind of looked at the 3, because I mean, if you're gonna get off what's gonna be the favorite in this main special weight, you gotta have something under you. So I'm gonna use the 3 Super Dreamy. Maybe Mark. I know Mark has wanted me to do this, so I'll hit the Pratt Simp alert here. But I think Pratt getting up here means that the horse is probably live. I tried to take a deeper dive here. This is a horse that's only got 4 starts so far. He's 1 for 4 with 2-year-olds. 0 for 2 in turf sprints so far. But I mean, I don't think you can really glean much from that small sample size. I will say the thing that does concern me is Whitworth Beckman, not exactly great with first-time turf horses. He's 3%, 10% with first-time starters. A little bit better with a decent ROI. So I don't know. I just think the fact that Super Dreamy or that Pratt gets up for Super Dreamy, I thought was interesting in here. But yeah, I don't know. I really like the 10. I will say of the AEs, I do like the 13. If the 13 draws in, he will be on all my tickets. Yopan is just, I mean, he's winning on everything, on every single surface. So I see Spikestown on the bottom, which can run on either surface. You get Yaupan on top. And you get that bullet or near bullet work at Churchill last time out. I do think that this is a horse that that would be live. It's interesting. I see Pratt's also named on this one. So
The second call.
This is a second call. Okay. But I think that this one is also one that I mean I look at this breeding and I see Yaupan. I think that this is going to be a live one. So we'll be curious to see, especially like if you see the 3 get scratched. Like I think like.
Well, they are by the same trainer too, so more than likely, if he wants to run the 13, he scratches the 3 out. It's because the 13 is super live, right?
Yeah, and it absolutely right. And of course, like Pratt signed on for both of them, right? So like you got to admit, you got to assume, but yeah, that's kind of where I landed here. Anything else in this race you guys want to talk about?
I think to Keo's point, you could have gone very, very deep in here. I think you can buy this race if you're going to buy something in this sequence.
And I'm having issues over here with my
Did you break the press simp button from pressing
I
so
don't know.
much?
I don't know what happened. I'll take a look at it when we get to the next race. But race 6 is going to start the late pick 5. 6.5 furlongs on the main track. You got dirt allowance here for 3-year-old fillies and mares and up. Caleb, I'll let you start here. Where did you land?
Yeah, I thought in this race, I didn't have anything super clever either. The 8 Hiller Rito looks awfully tough, I think. Very humble beginnings, coming from the Mountain State and then working the way up through the allowance ranks at Belterra Park. But, finally, there must have been some kind of a private purchase here by Jacobson. Didn't waste any time getting this horse into some high dollar races, and the horse has not lost a step. Trounced a field 2 back at Ellis Park, and then came back as a heavy favorite and demolished a decent field at Churchill. So this horse is just extremely, extremely sharp right now and extremely quick. I don't see another horse in this field who can really go with this horse on the lead. I think that Gaffleon just gets her out front, and she doesn't look back. So she's probably going to be mostly a single for me, or at least a single A. I did have maybe 1 or 2 that I was going to use as Bs, but I'll see if anybody else has a different opinion on the favorite first.
Yeah, I do have a different opinion on the favorite, and it's the fact that I completely agree with your take here. This is the speed of the speed. This horse should go to the front end, and this horse has gotten very good as of recent. My biggest problem here is just the fact that the Jacobson Barn horses have not been running well, and they've all been taking money. It feels like every single starter he's had has gone off as the favorite or second choice or something, and they just really haven't run that well. I realize he's got 2 seconds and a third, out of his 4 starters, but those races weren't close. He's been, 4 to 5, 3 to 5, even money kind of stuff, and losing by 8 or 10 lengths. So, could this one break that streak? Of course. But Jacobson Barn tends to be very streaky and tends to be a fairly high percentage barn. He's normally a 17ish% trainer all year round. So I tended to kind of shy away from his horses, and I think I land on, and I guess Josh is gonna have to press the button for me now, but I landed on the 5 horse, One Magic Filly for Brendan Walsh. Walsh is is very high percentage with new stock. His horses have all been running. He 5 of 15 on the meet so far, 11 of 15 in the money, and he gets Pratt to ride this one, shipping in from the West Coast, in a horse that really does like this trip. So I thought the 5, as long as the track comes up fairly fair and you can close into it, I thought the 5 was the horse I was most interested in here.
Yeah, I don't want to be like the fact check guy, but I did look that up because I was curious on it myself. And Jacobson had horses at 2 to 1, 5 to 2, 12 to 1, and 17 to 1. So
okay,
I wouldn't be too critical of him being winless in 4 starts.
Okay.
Once again, I am splitting the difference here. I like both the 5 and the 8 in this race. Honestly, normally
fake ass West Coast figs,
dude. No, here's the thing. Normally, I would just absolutely hammer this 8. I would single this 8 to Kingdom Come. I would not have any other horse. Right, this horse looks like lone speed in this race. This looks like a race that doesn't really have a lot of pace, and but I feel like this meet, I've already been burned on this exact angle like 4 or 5 times at short prices. I just look at there was a horse earlier today. We were talking about pre-stream, this one horse I forget in race 4 or 5 that looked like lone speed, and I just got absolutely demolished on that horse, and he was the public ended up being right because he was 8 to 5 in the morning line, and he went off at 5 to 2. And or the computers, I guess, were right on that horse. But so I don't know. Normally, I just fire away in this 8, right, and single him in every single way, shape, or form. I do think the 5 looks interesting. My concern with the 5 is that he hasn't won in a long time. Right, you're going back, but his last win was a stakes race. I guess kind of curious about what happened last race. They kind of had a slow setup, kind of had things his own way. You thought he maybe would have been able to pass that horse, but he ended up not being able to make up any ground in that one. So maybe a little bit of concerning with that 5. The only other horse I kind of liked, I like the 2, Marmalade Sky here. No, the other Jacobson horse, and this is the Jacobson horse that gets the better jockey in Irad Ortiz Jr. So I thought Jacobson with this horse, I think it's like what second off the claim, or at least off of a private purchase here. I think no, never mind. Those are just a bunch of vet scratches. I thought it was a barn change, but this is a horse that at least you've kind of seen some improvement here the last couple times out. Obviously, this is a 5-year-old mare, so you're not really expecting a ton move forward. But that 108 last time at Churchill Downs looks pretty good. And you see a horse that kind of made up a little bit of ground on 2 blue fractions there at Churchill Downs, which isn't necessarily easy to do all the time. And I just kind of try and think like, all right, what's the race shape here going to look like? You are going to get, I think, what could possibly be some blue fractions on time form. And this is a horse that 3-back was able to win off those blue fractions. So I could kind of see maybe the 2 kind of sit in that tracking trip. I mean, Irad loves to do this anyways, right? He loves to let the speed just go out in front of him, and he'll just kind of track off and make that one closing run. So I thought run style and speed figure wise, the 2 really fit in the spot. So I got the 2, 5, and 8 in this leg.
2 other horses I want to talk about real quick, and I'll put them both in the category. Those are the 3-horse Zerdonsky and the 7-horse Easy Red. If you've been watching Keeneland so far this meet, you've seen that horses that like Keeneland have run really well at Keeneland, and that tends to be a trend. And both of those 2 are horses that have wins. Zerdonsky ran a career top at Keeneland, and a bit of what feels almost like an outlier kind of top. And then I thought the 7 Easy Red, I think second best race of that one's career. But both of them are horses that you kind of wonder, are they getting back to a surface that they both really like, and could take that step forward? And I think there are some questions with both the 5 and the 8. I'm not gonna shy away from that. So I thought the 3 and the 7 were both kind of interesting. If you think that the speed is a little bit of suspect, and you're a little bit worried about the 5 who doesn't necessarily love winning, I thought those 2 are other interesting places to go because you're going to get a lot more value there.
Yeah, the 2 and the 7 were my 2 horses I kind of alluded to earlier, both of whom you guys have kind of addressed. So yeah, I would probably play them behind as maybe C's, maybe B's, depending on my ticket. But
yep.
Yeah, 8's going to be a lone A for me.
I see Nick Seaver single to 5.
Nick and I agreeing. Shocker.
Stephen Fox saying 3 all day. And also saying buy this race since Caleb is going to single the chalk. Got it.
Honestly,
dude,
true.
you know what? I cannot wait for this to happen in person, where how many of us is going to be? Like 5 or 6 of us that are going to be at Caleb's house. We're all sitting around and we're going to do something stupid, like try and talk into like doing like a group ticket or something. Mark's going to roll his eyes, but he's going to be like, well, I'm not going to get left out. And then Steven's going to fucking talk us into some just donk shit and just going to blow up all our tickets. Like, I just cannot wait to see that happen in person, because I've seen it happen in chat so many times that it happening in person, I think, is going to be is just going to be a little bit different. So
Steven forcing us all to buy a race with an obvious 1-9, and then singling in a race to a 20-1, and then somehow we get boomed. Yeah,
it's going to be the worst group in-person play I've seen since the Vegas trip, where we were up on the group pool and slots, and then we gave him to Mike to play roulette with, and he lost it.
You let Mike play. What were you guys thinking?
I mean, well, actually, I don't know. It was pretty early in the day. I don't know if we could have blamed alcohol for that one.
I can't say.
Race 7 here. Mile and 3/16 turf allowance race. And you get a full field here again. You get 12 with an also eligible in the 13. Your morning line favorite in this one is going to be the Valentinian at 4-1? You get 9-2 on Johnny Rendezvous, 5-1 on Chapman's Peak, 6-1 on Warlander, 8-1 on Right Off Jerry. and 8-1 on Long Branch. I mean, like this is at least the morning line maker thinks is a wide open race. I did see a comment earlier about morning lines at Keeneland. Um, you know, it's a tough job. I definitely wouldn't want to do it. Um, but yeah, they've just not. There's been a couple of misses for sure, but it is what it is, right? I think that we all kind of know how things kind of are sometimes with these tracks, but um, I thought this was a tough race. I got 5 horses written down, and you know, honestly, I think my top pick might be the 8 Domingo at 15-1. Um, this is a horse that I thought he ran fine at Kentucky Downs. Um, and it's tough. It's tough to blame a horse that is kind of wants to come from off the pace, not running well at Kentucky Downs, especially the way the track had been this meet. I mean, speed was just so deadly for most of the meet. I had heard that they had kind of like taken a little bit of the hill out, and like I don't know what everything happened, but I think there's been some changes to the way the turf was going, like, and it's just been speed favoring. I think the last couple of years, so I'm kind of crossing the line through it. But I mean, the speed figure was all right. It's a 101, right? I think if I remember correctly, I think Timeform's got this as like a 110 rate, 108 rated race, right? Um, but I think if you kind of go back and you look at the Keeneland race, what, 5 back? I mean, that's a 111, and that race absolutely fits in here. Granted, right? It's only going a mile. We're going a lot longer here, but I think if you kind of look back through this horse's races, you see 2 of the better races this horse had run had been here at Keeneland. Even the Keeneland race in 2024, that mile and 3/16 race. The horse just missed by 3/4 of length in that race. Kind of closed into a bit. You had 1 blue fraction in there, so I was able to make a pretty big move there. So you get Joel Rosario aboard, and I think that this could be. I think maybe this horse gets lost on the board a little bit, right? I think this is a horse that's got some decent Keeneland races, and I think could run to its best figures that it's run in the past at Keeneland. And I think you're going to get a little bit of a price here at 15-1. But I got 3 other horses I like, but that I wanted to at least get to that one before you guys did, so I could look smart in case you guys didn't like it. Caleb, I'll let you go next. Where did you land?
Man, your grand strategy worked because Domingo is my top pick in here, actually. I completely echo everything you said. If you look, I won't talk long about him since you did a really good job of covering it, but there's dirtied up form with the 2 dirt races. The sprint at Kentucky Downs, not something he probably wants to do. And if you look back farther, I mean, from the onset, the connections thought this horse was a long distance horse. I mean, they're trying to get him into these 1 1/4, 1 3/8 races. Just can't get him in a race. It gets washed off the turf. He dumps the rider. There's a barn change. She tries cutting him back to a mile. Does okay. Then decides to stretch him out again. Gets washed off again. Last race kind of feels like a prep to me. So yeah, I think this horse hopefully slides under the radar because I'm with you. I think Domingo is super live in here. Not a win machine, but that's what why you're getting double-digit odds, I think. Besides that, I agree with your overall assessment of the race. I do have 4 horses in here as well. He's the one that I'm probably the most excited about. I do like, honestly, the 4 horses I have are all next to each other. So I have 5, 6, 7, and 8 all written down in here. I won't talk about all of them because I'm sure Mark probably has 1 or 2. But, I guess we'll maybe talking just briefly about the number 5, Johnny's Rendezvous. Not a horse that I would probably normally look to bet, that takes 7 starts to break his maiden. But, if you look at his numbers on his speed figures, despite the fact he's running in maiden races, they're right there. I mean, he has a 109 on Timeform last out. He had a 107 2 back. I mean, those are right there with what most of these horses are running. And I'm just wondering if after settling for a few minor awards, maybe they just kind of finally figured out the light bulb goes off and a horse that's had a little bit of a hard time finding the winner circle finally put it all together. That was despite a little bit of trouble where he hit the gate, but then just kind of opened up on the field and never looked back. I don't think there's a ton of speed in this race. I mean, I don't think this horse is going to get that easy trip he got last time, but I don't think he's a need to lead horse by any stretch. I mean, we've seen him close, 2 and 3 back to just miss essentially. So I think that he can kind of work out his own trip. The Bower Barn does tend to get very streaky and very hot. So, I think he's just 0 for 2 so far this meet. So hard to conclude much so far, but I think that, he's one that I'm certainly keeping an eye out on to see if he starts to heat up. But Johnny's Rendezvous, 9-2, not a price that really excites me there. I think he'll float up a little bit. But yeah, he's another one that I'll be using with Domingo, plus Chapman's Peak and Warlander, who we can circle back to later. But Mark, what'd you think?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. It being a tough race, but we sort of learned on different horses, which is always makes it interesting. So, I think Josh sort of alluded to Valentini in the 3. The first time turf horse, I thought this one was really interesting. Todd is what 53% or sorry 63% on the meet so far. He's 5-8. Seems his barn has been very very live. This one has some turf pedigree there, and he seems fit to throw Flavian up. So I would imagine that this horse is fairly well met in this spot. Again, there's some question marks to ask, and I don't. If this horse ends up super short, I'm not interested in him. 4-1 is, what are the, I guess 4-1 is a price where I wouldn't spot play this horse in a double or a win bet, but I wouldn't want this horse to beat me in a pick 5, right? And I guess that's kind of how I'm looking at this one. The other horse I thought, and again, probably falls into a really similar sort of category, is a 6 horse, Chapman's Peak, horse that a Rad ends up landing on. Maiden breaker last out at Kentucky Downs for Brad Cox. Again, I think we all want to kind of dunk on Kentucky Downs form, but Kentucky Downs form seems to translate to Keeneland very well. It doesn't translate to the Breeders' Cup, but to Keeneland it does. I think that figure out of Chapman's Peak is pretty good, and this is a horse that's been trending in the right way. Any little speed improvement off that last makes this one a really tough customer in this race. And so I thought those were, probably your 2 shortest prices, and those are by top 2. The other horse I was a little interested on is the rail horse, Long Branch Lou. I know Caleb gives me crap when I don't land on the every other horse because I'm the biggest every other simp on the face of the planet. And this is your every other horse in this race. This horse wins every other race. Now the problem is that none of those winning efforts are even close to being fast enough to win this race here. I don't know. I didn't want Caleb to give me crap, so I figured I would at least mention the every other horse, and maybe this one is kind of that BC line for me. But I think this is kind of the race where I don't have a good opinion on any of the prices. I'm not super interested in any of the prices, so I kind of landed on the 2 logicals. And if I get beat here, I get beat here. That's just kind of how I'm looking at it.
I like your Long Branch Lou pick infinitely more than I like your Valentinian pick. I think Valentinian is a takeout reducer in this race, 100%. I know Todd's barn is hot, but he's terrible going dirt to turf. This screams desperation to me. I mean, the horse was purchased for $1.5 million, doesn't run at 2, debuts at Tampa Bay, and then has just been a disappointment. Has 1 win, banked less than $100,000 out of 7 starts and cost $1.5 million. I mean, to me, they're going to try stretching her out and throwing her on turf. Or him on turf. I don't like this at all. I see those hidden Monmouth works. That's just, absolutely not. So yeah, for me, this horse.
Wait, are fake Todds a thing? I didn't realize fake Todds were a thing.
It wasn't until this year, but I've established it this year. It's new. It's kind of hipster.
God.
I was laughing, Caleb, because you were like, "Yeah, I like the 5, 6, 7, and 8." That's literally what I have written down. I have 5, 6. I have 6, 7, 8 as A's. I really do like the 6 in this spot. Obviously the fact that IRAD stays aboard. Obviously it's IRAD, Brad Cox, Godolphin, right? I mean, these are just huge, big name connections. They won that big maiden race at Kentucky Downs. They're cutting back here. And like I said, we've seen these Kentucky Downs figures from time form seem to be holding up. I think I think a big shout out has to go out to Craig, because I do think in my mind, I feel like the work he puts in, the hand timing, a lot of these races, and that he did for Kentucky Downs, I think that you're seeing dividends in the in that. So I really do like that. I like the 7 Warlander. I think that's another one, Caleb, that you said that you like. Kind of the same thing, right? This is the horse that won the Kentucky Downs. And you go back and you look at the Keeneland form. The Keeneland form looks all right. And gets Jose Ortiz aboard. Granted, he's been off to a bit of a slow start, but I think he makes a ton of sense here. The 5 Johnny's Rendezvous, which I think Caleb, you talked about briefly, probably the one of the four I like the least in this spot. But I am going to have him on at least some, if not all, my tickets. We'll see. Timeform's got this rated as a fast pace, but I think that he's just tactical, right? I mean, he has led, but I do think that if if there is a duel or a speed battle up front, I think that this horse is tactical enough that he'll sit off. And Luan Machado's been riding pretty decent. I know he had I think a win or two today. So I do like the 5. He's probably the one I like the least out of those 4, but I'm basically right there with you, Caleb. The 5, 6, 7, and 8. Nick saying that race looks pretty even on time form. Seems like a find the price race. And also saying first time turf Todd feels like one to be against. So Nick, as usual, the smartest guy in the room. So anything else on this race? Race 8. 6 furlong dirt allowance for 3-year-old fillies. And we got a full field of 10 here. Mark, I'll let you go first. Where'd you land?
I thought this was just again, another one of these really, really tough races, and we'll know a little bit more after scratches. I was kind of hoping Josh wouldn't call on me, because I'm going to land on a couple of prices. But here we go. So first off, let's start with the horse that is not a price, and that's the 1 horse Stilettos. It gets a rat up. It has been a horse that 3 wins on the career and a cut in 3 seconds. So horse that if it doesn't win, likes to be a major player in these kind of races. I thought this was one that in a race that I had a really hard time going and kind of finding a spot, a bunch of every others who this is the other race kind of a thing. I thought Stilettos was a horse that kind of is improving, has a little bit of an every other pattern. This should be the every race, and hopefully the switch to a rad gets this one to gets the second-itis out of this one from the last 3. So I thought Stilettos was an interesting player here. And the other horse that I was super interested in, I guess I shouldn't say super, was a little bit interested in, and maybe it's a little bit more of my inner tournament player coming out, but that's the 3-horse Mega Mill. You're getting a horse who had debuts at Laurel, breaks and maiden at Aqueduct by 6.5. Really nice effort. Off for the winner, comes back at Ellis, runs a really nice race and a big money allowance, and then they took a shot in the dogwood. Nothing wrong with taking the shot. Horse was not disgraced, but probably just doesn't belong with those, and is getting a lot of class relief in here, cutting back to an optional 125. Not in for a tag, so clearly this is not a fire sale, and this is a horse that has some speed, can be forwardly placed, and you're getting some, I don't know, you're getting service as a trainer, but a bit of a no-name jock. So this is not the kind of horse that's going to attract a ton of money. And I think that sort of 10-1 morning line is the kind of right price for somebody like Mega Mill. And this is the horse that just maybe this is the appropriate level. So I thought Mega Mill was really interesting. So my top 2 are the 1 and the 3, and interesting where you guys landed though, because there was a lot of ways here. This race felt like it. Of probably any in the sequence had the most sort of like cute. You could be sort of you could be cute with some angles in here.
Caleb.
Yeah, I agree with Mark actually. The 1 is my top pick, Stilettos, and honestly, when I handicapped this race, it feels like there's a ton of speed in here. Maybe not all E8 3 cherry specials, but a lot of EP7 kind of runners who want to be a length off the pace at worst. And I couldn't find a true closer, but I think with Irad getting up on this one and seeing how she's run the past couple of starts, I think she's one that probably does end up taking back. I don't think she's fast enough to get to the lead anyway. She does have the highest late pace rating as well. So I'm a little bothered by the fact that 2 of her 3 wins did come at Lone Star, but her seconds at Churchill were good efforts. So I mean, I think that she's a fine filly. Not a high confidence play by any means, especially at 4-1, but she's the one that I just think is going to run her race more than anybody else. I agree with Mark on the 3. My main hesitation there is I'm just not sure that she's fast enough to get the lead, and I'm not sure if she can win without it. But at 10-1, I think you're getting kind of paid to take that gamble there, so I do like that pick. One other horse I liked is the number 2, actually, Lynn's Milky Way. Another horse who I think might be able to work out a stalking trip. Exiting Charlestown, so a big figure and a big blowout win, but hard to make much out of that race. But what really impresses me more is probably the race 3 back at Keeneland, where she was stalking a really, really fast pace in a race that just totally fell apart. I mean, the winners came from last and next to last with Evanescence and Beauty Reigns. Beauty Reigns went on to win a couple of races out of that and compete in some graded stakes and, far from disgraced herself in some of those races. So that was a good race. I think Lynn's Milky Way has been involved in some really fast paces, some of which she set and some of which she didn't, and just kind of mistimed her move a little bit. So I'd love to see her not go to the lead here. I don't know what kind of a ride we'll get, but I'd love to see her rate a little bit because I think if she can rate, I think she'll have enough left in the tank to get, first jump on essentially the 1. But, she has so much natural speed. I don't think it's going to be too hard for her to kind of take back just a touch. So I do like, the inside runners 1, 2, and 3. And the one runner that I just don't know what to do with, I'm curious what y'all thought, is the number 8, Anna Karina. I don't know what to do with this horse because her first 4 races on dirt were very uninspiring. I mean, I guess she could technically, did get a win there. But it's hard to be excited about just a maiden win if going 4.5 furlongs as a 2-year-old. Her other 3 dirt races as a 2-year-old were terrible. Most of her turf races were terrible. She had 1 win in there, but, she wins or she doesn't show up at all. And then last time out in a 5-horse field, she goes off at 20-1, opens up by 3 and just romps. I mean, the fastest time form figure in the field, and it's not even close. And, you just kind of wonder, like, where did that come from? Do you guys trust this filly? I mean, she won at this level, in that race, and then they're running her back at this level again, putting her in for the $125,000 tag. I mean, for me, there's too many questions to really take anything less than 5-1 on this filly. But did anyone else have a stronger opinion one way or the other?
I don't think you can touch her with a 10-foot pole. It was a short field. I don't trust that figure in the last out at all. There's no way she makes the lead, especially given the post draw. If she was drawn inside, I would like her a lot more because maybe she could get to the rail and she could kind of clear. But she's going to get strung, out wide. And I don't trust Julian to be able to make the lead in this kind of a field. Yeah, it's a big figure. Maybe she took a big step forward from 2 to 3. That does often happen. And she was fairly lightly raced in her 3-year-old campaign, but I just think that figure is crazy suspect. And, maybe she's just that sort of desperate need the lead type. And if that's the case of what she is, I just don't see her getting it here.
Everything that Mark just said, just say the opposite. I love the 8 in this spot. I'm looking at this race, and while there's a lot of high pace early figs, really there's only maybe 2 horses that I think are definitely going to kind of go for the lead. I think one of them is the 8. And, if Julian does what he did last race and we see a 144 early pace rating, I mean, he's getting the lead in this race. And one thing I'll say is, right, you got the 2 red fractions here, and this horse kept on and kept going. Now, granted, he didn't do it under any pressure, right? Like Caleb said, this horse just opened up and just got brave and just went, right? But even so, this is a 112 raw figure that got moved up to a 116. So it only got moved up 4 points. That 112 still has this horse competitive with this field, right? So that makes me think that figure is probably a little bit more legit than Mark thinks. So I really like the 8 in this spot. The other horse that's kind of got a high early pace figure, the 5 Princess Proud, is another one I actually really like in this race. Now, granted, this is one I think that's a little bit more tactical than a horse like the 8. Is able to keep up with, I think, those fast horses, but is one that's I think happy to track off of it. So I like the 5 Princess Proud here. And I think is going to be able to kind of track off that early pace. But honestly, my top pick in this race is at 15-1. I like the 7 Moon Mystique in this spot. Lightly raced horse with 2 straight wins, with a huge jump from that win at Indianapolis to Ellis Park, and just did it really kind of professionally last time, right? Just, what broke out of the gate quick, ended up third at first call, kind of just tracked the pace, tracked the horse, took the lead, and then ended up hanging on for half a length. So I really like the 7 in this spot, actually. Alex Richard stays aboard, and I think that this is a horse that people are going to kind of look at and be like, well, this is a horse this horse is 2 for 2, but did it at Indianapolis and Ellis. But I mean, we see this all the time at Keeneland, right? Where horses come from Indianapolis, or they come from Delta Downs. They come from, they come from all over.
You had an Archie bred win a big money maiden today. So yeah.
Yeah. So we see this kind of stuff happen all the time. So I do think that the 7 Moon Mystique is definitely live in here. The horse is 2 for 2, and he's not going to get bet like this is a horse 2 for 2, stepping up in class that took a huge jump, because people are going to see the tracks, I think.
Question there. Do you think that horse can take another 10-point step forward on time for him? That's the question. If you think that's the case, I love the pick. That's what I'm a little concerned about with that horse. I get that from the debut with the nice maiden score to the last out effort, that big step forward. I think also, first effort to second effort, that's common, but second to third effort, that's where I get a little concerned. But you do have a horse that does like to win, so that's always something.
Yeah, and on top of it though, I don't think you're gonna need 10 points at this point, because if you think the 8's 116 is fake, a 112 puts you right in there, right? So you're looking at 8 points.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
okay.
But I don't know. I love the 7 in this spot. I love the 8 in here, and the other course I'm gonna use the 5.
In a race loaded with speed, Josh takes 3 of them.
Yep.
No one likes the 9. I don't much care for her, but she is the morning line favorite. I'm not sure if she'll be your post time favorite, but I didn't.
Minbreaker last out, first time versus winners. She makes some sense. I think that line's really bad. I think she ends up probably ends up more in that 6 or 8-1 kind of range. She's an interesting player here, but she's another one of those. She's got 3 starts. She goes from 100 to 109 over 3 starts. Obviously, second start was a turf start. Could she take another step forward and be a major player there? Yeah, I guess, but I would much rather go for Josh's 7 to take that big step forward at 5 times the price, right?
No, I agree. Yeah, I was just seeing what y'all thought.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the 9 whatsoever.
I wasn't either.
I did see Nick earlier. That was pretty funny. He said, "Oh no, I'm on the 1-2. Time for us to find a new pick here." So,
no, my concern was, and I kind of said it in chat, was I like the 1, but the fact that Caleb likes the 1 and Nick also likes the 1 makes me go, oh, that 4-1 is a pipe dream. We're going to get 2-1, and then I really don't like the 1 at 2-1. I like the horse much less at 2-1. So that's my real concern with the 1. It's more of a price dependent play. The horse can totally win. Horse makes sense here. Would not be a shock at all. I just need the right price there.
I will say, if you're a buyer truther, and you think that we're going 6 furlongs, so speed, we're not chase, we're not going to pick closers in a sprint here. I think the 2 makes a ton of sense. I know you guys. I think Caleb or Mark, when you guys talked about the 2. On Bayer, the 2 looks like a humongous standout. I think it ran a 90
But
last
going
time out.
4.5, like there's a big difference between going 4.5 and going 6. And this horse just consistently bounces off all those big efforts. So I don't hate it at the right price, but I just, no, not for me.
Anything else in this race? We're not talking about Mountaineer shippers. We're talking about Charlestown shippers, but apparently Mark doesn't like either of them. Race 9.
Only one of them really hurts me. And it's mainly not the horses from that track that hurt me. It's other people's opinions on those horses from those tracks that hurt me.
People from those tracks.
Yeah, those people are the worst.
Got the Grade 1 Queen Elizabeth II Cup. Mile and 1/8 for 3-year-old fillies. Your morning line favorite is the number 2 Laura Lynn at 5-2. You get 3-1 on Fionn, 4-1 on Opulent Restraint, 8-1 or 5-1 on Lush Slips, 8-1 on Destiny Dioro, double digits on the rest. Caleb, where did you land here?
I don't. This is a hard race for me. I mean, when I looked at it, my first question, and I'm probably stealing at least one of your thunder here, is who goes with Opulent Restraint on the lead? I mean, isn't she just the loosest of loose in this race?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think she's a Grade 1 filly. I know she ran third in the Belmont Oaks, but I mean, that was the Belmont Oaks where she had everything her own way, and she still got run down by Fionn and Nitrogen. Admittedly, 2, very talented fillies, but she still lost. Why does that change today? Even if she gets that same favorable setup, why does that change today when she once again has to hold off Fionn and once again has to hold off, well, not Nitrogen, but Laura Lynn, who is, another, very serious player. So I went back and forth forever about this horse. Probably will make my ticket in some form or fashion, but I think from a pace perspective, you just have to, that's where this race kind of starts and ends for me. I think it probably hurts a horse like Fionn, who does tend to come from pretty far back. And for that reason, that's kind of why I ended up on Laura Lynn as my top pick. Admittedly, some of her running lines might be a little deceiving because she is coming out of a lot of pretty small fields. 5, 6, and 7 horses in her last 3. So the fact that she was third in some of those races doesn't exactly mean she was super far forward. But nevertheless, I do think that she has more early pace than really, most of the other contenders in here, perhaps with the exception of Lush Lips. And she's just so good. I mean, she's so consistent. She's undefeated. I kind of hate betting undefeated horses because I think they always get overbet. But I tried to beat her in the Saratoga Oaks Invitational. I thought, maybe the distance might get to her. Maybe she hasn't beaten all that much, and she won that race as easy as you could ask. I mean, the margin of victory could have been more. I'm not really trying to beat her again. So Laura Lynn is going to be my top selection in here. I might use a little bit of Opulent Restraint defensively. And honestly, I have nothing against Fionn. So if I'm playing a pick 6, maybe I throw her in. But from a pick 5, pick 4, turf pick 3, kind of, more of a betting theory, I'm probably not going to have the top 3 choices in this race unless I love a bomb that I'm singling somewhere else. So for that reason, Fionn is, the horse in the top 3 that I probably like the least, even though I won't be surprised at all if she wins. So for me, I had a hard time seeing past the top 3, but I'm giving the nod to Laura Lynn, given I think that she has a better pace advantage compared to Fionn, but won't be surprised if Opulent Restraint can get the job done on the front end either.
I kind of see it. I think I see it the same way you did, Caleb. I really like Opulent Restraint. I mean, obviously, right, this is a horse that's going to be loose on a lead. Joel Rosario doesn't know it, but he's very, very good on the front end when he can get loose and get the horse to relax. So I think Opulent Restraint's going to be tough in this spot. I do think Laura Lynn's kind of hard to ignore, being 5-5, winning in all kinds of pace scenarios, whether they're going, fast up front, whether they're, kind of slow on the, slow on the front end. I think he, she just hasn't done anything wrong here. Kendrick keeps them out here. So Laura Lynn's going to be on all my tickets. Honestly, the only horse that you guys didn't talk about, or that you didn't talk about, Caleb, that I'm interested in is the 6 Candy Quest. Um, this is Mark Cassidy and Jose Ortiz here, and I'm just kind of looking back through these races, and I see that race 3 back at Penn. Right, it was a yielding course. It was kind of a slow pace, and obviously Laura Lynn ended up getting the best of Candy Quest in that spot. But I think Candy Quest ran a really, really good race in there, was able to kind of stay forward on a slow pace. So I do think that it could just kind of be, um, the 5 and maybe the 6 kind of just like sitting there 1-2. And maybe there's a chance that the 6 able to kind of get the jump on Laura Lynn and maybe kind of close in there. I mean, obviously, horse is going to have to run a top, I think, to win here. Did run a 112 last time out at Kentucky Downs, and that was a race where she was way far back, and then Fionn just was able to kind of suck up and beat her in that spot. But I at least thought the 6 Candy Quest a little bit more interesting. I'm more interested in the 6 than I am the 9. The 9's not going to be anywhere on any of my tickets. But I really like the 2 and the 5, and I'm going to have a little bit of the 6 Candy Quest in this spot. Mark, where did you land?
So first off, this is a really, really cool race. I think I've had a lot of fun following this division this year. Some amazingly talented players. I think if you watched the races last weekend, you saw just how game nitrogen was. Couldn't quite get it done, but 3-year-olds versus older on dirt, and it's just been a fun division. I think oftentimes we see these fillies divisions where they show up for one race and then they run a couple of subpar ones. And I think it's nice to see that this division will be really fun this year. So with that being said, I want no part of Opulent Restraint. She's the kind of horse that fills out the bottom of your trifecta. She just doesn't seem to know how to win anymore. And she was really good last year as a 2-year-old, and just can't kind of put it together this year. Everything Josh said about about Joelle on the front end, that applied to the Belmont Oaks, and she couldn't hold off Fionn. So, I think for me, the race really goes through both Laura Lynn and Fionn. I don't really like one much more than the other. I think to me, they're both about equal. I had a hard time kind of drawing a line between either one of them. But I think there's a couple of other interesting players in here that neither of you talked about. First one that I think is the Euro Invader and Simmering. I think that's a horse, anytime you see a Euro in one of these kind of races, you at least have to kind of address it. To me, this is the horse that does not want to go this far. I think the pedigree to me is more sort of 7 furlong or a mile. Horse isn't getting Lasix. There's no major changes or anything else here. But it is a Euro Invader, and getting Luis Saez up. So I thought at least an interesting horse to take a look at. Probably not for me, not a horse that I would use, but I imagine you'll hear a bunch of people trying to make a case for that horse. I know Josh mentioned Candy Quest, and I thought the horse just to the outside was actually more interesting for me, and that's Destino de Oro, the Brad Cox horse, a horse that seemed to be kind of trending in the right way. And you get a rad, taking the mount. This is one that is going to be seeing a similar trip to Fionn, or probably kind of between Laura Lynn and Fionn. So more of that Fionn trip, but a horse that has run some nice races, and getting the class test here. I didn't think the Kentucky Downs effort was. I think you just kind of draw a line through the Kentucky Downs effort. Didn't fire that day, but if you go to those 2 or 3 back efforts, a pretty interesting horse, and doesn't need a massive step forward here to be a major player, and you're going to get your price. So I thought Destino de Oro was at least a little bit interesting in here. Clearly not my top choices, sort of ACs. I think you kind of make like a Laura Lynn and a Fionn your A's, and then somebody like Destino de Oro probably is more of a C type for me. But fun rendition. To me, this is kind of the race where I'm not super interested to bet this race, but I'm just super interested to watch it for the kind of ramifications moving down the road.
Anything else on this race? I see Nick Severs loves the five apparently in third. He's got the 2-all-5
Dude,
trifecta.
I love that try. Absolutely love that try because that's how I think you use opulent restraint. You key opulent restraint underneath in an exact try, something like that. Because I don't think opulent restraint can win, but I would almost be surprised if she doesn't somehow suck up and hit the board. So,
All right. We got one last race here. Race 10, 6.5 furlong starter allowance race for 3-year-olds and up on the main track. Your morning line favorite in this race is going to be the number 9, Count the Brave at 4-1, 9-2 on Dive Bomber. You get 6-1 on Remy's Moon, 8-1 on Did It Dialed, 8-1 on Sinister Smile. I think you get double digits on the rest. I thought this was a wide open race. They Timeform's got this as a fast pace. Um, you know, I thought the 9, Count the Brave, looked really interesting in this race. Mostly because, I mean, this is something that we've talked about before, right? This is obviously a 3-year-old gelding, but I mean, you go back to when this horse first started running. I mean, this horse just seems to keep consistently improve. Granted, right? They ran at Turfway Park. Uh, you know, that didn't look great. But then they came back to Houston with a 100, 104. Kind of paired that with a 101, 101, and then ran a 109. This looks like a horse that had been kind of constantly been improving. And I just think that this is a horse that's going to be coming in here with off that win, off a second at Indianapolis, coming in with good form, gets Jose Ortiz. So I thought the 9, Count the Brave, was, he's a lukewarm favorite in here, but I thought he was kind of the horse to beat in my eyes. And then the other 2 horses I liked the 12, Sinister Smile, all the way on the outside. This is another horse that since being claimed off of Brad Cox, is strung together 3 good races on Timeform. Now, granted, form-wise, this is a horse that's been 6th, and 5th. So you got to question, are you more interested in the form? You're more interested in the speed figure? But you're getting 8-1 here, so I think you can kind of maybe excuse some of the form, getting into a softer spot here than those Salty Churchill down races, that stakes race at Ellis, where he, Big Truz was in that race, Admiral Dennis, which I know is one of Caleb's favorite horses, or at least a horse I know Caleb's bet before. Maybe just finds a slightly easier company here. And then the 8, Pineland, is another horse I'm going to be using in this spot. And I think this is a horse, they've tried this. They tried this horse on turf, but honestly, the dirt races look pretty good. I mean, you look at some of that Oak Lawn form. Was able to win that race in May of 2024. Obviously, had to get laid up for a bit, but that horse came back and fired to 105, which I think does fit in with this group pretty decently. Obviously regressed a little bit, ran that 104 at Churchill Downs, and then they had that turf experiment there where Jose Ortiz saw fit to ride twice at Churchill and Kentucky Downs. So Rosario gets aboard here. I thought that this was an interesting horse, kind of coming back to dirt off of that kind of long layoff, or not long layoff, but that time away from the dirt. And this is a trainer, Lindsay Schultz, who in a limited sample size is actually 17% going from turf to dirt. So I thought that there was a little bit of a plus there. So
you also might want to add to the fact I think Lindsay Schultz had 2 wins on the day today.
There you go. But I got the 8, 9, and 12 to close this one out. Caleb, where did you land?
Yeah, Josh, we're actually really similar. I agree with you. This is a wide open race. I had 3 A's and 2 B or C's written down, and you kind of hit on 3 of them. I'm with you on the 9 and the 12. I probably like the 12 maybe a touch better, just given some of Jose Ortiz's struggles and kind of the somewhat difficult to understand reversal of form for the 9. But nevertheless, I do think that both of those horses are ones that I'll be using prominently. Your 8 was one of the ones that I probably have more of as like a B type, but again, I think it could be, getting back to dirt could be pretty interesting in here. The other ones that I'll probably talk to, kind of quickly here is my other A is actually the one, Did It Dialed.
Mm-hmm.
That maiden score at Indiana Grand was, excuse me, the maiden score at Indiana Grand was actually really nice. That figure came back strong. Yeah, I got to sit off of a pretty slow pace, but beat the leader by half a length, and they were 6.5 clear from the field. And that figure seems to have kind of held up. I think this is a horse that is going to get overlooked because of the jockey. But actually, Moncada getting up for Brian Lynch or 25% so far this year. So I think that that's actually a high percentage move. So for me, I like Did It Dialed as well. I don't think he'll be anywhere near the lead like he was two back because he's just not that fast. But clearly, he shows he doesn't need the lead when he made that big closing effort in that debut race at Churchill in the slop. So for me, that's one of my other A's. And then the other one I wanted to talk about is the number 6, Uncle William. I kind of went back and forth. Probably going to be more of like a B type for me because it just feels like he had a perfect trip last time out, and now he is moving up to face more difficult competition. But I like the fact that he did have a win at Keeneland last year in the fall, and if you kind of ignore some of those turf and synthetic races, the form's really not all that bad. It seems like this might be a horse that just kind of goes in and out of form and maybe is kind of cycling back into form for a new barn. So for me, the 6 and is a B horse for me as well.
Yeah, so I'm a little less high on the 9 in here than you guys are. I don't hate the horse. That last out effort was fine, but the horse is 2 for 9 lifetime. I'm still a little suspect about the Jacobson barn. I know Caleb countered me with facts, and I don't know. He's probably right. I'm
Mark
probably an
hates
idiot.
facts.
I hate facts. They're really stupid. They're all fake. I think Count the Brave is the kind of horse you could beat in here, especially given the fact that if you're a time form person, the horse is your morning line favorite, and there's about, I don't know, 3 or 4 horses in here that have, well, at least a couple of horses in here that have run as fast or faster than that one. And with Jose Ortiz not riding as well as he has historically at places like Saratoga or Kentucky Downs, it seems like I don't know what's up with Jose. I don't know if he's hurt or got something going on or whatever's up, but I just think that the 9 is the kind of horse you try to beat. And the 3 Dive Bombers, your second choice horse. And Aaron Shorter is over 30 first off the claim. So that's one that I'm also not interested in. Did It Dialed, the one that Caleb already has mentioned, horse that I'm very high on here. I really kind of hope no one would mention that horse because I thought I was being cute. And then freaking Caleb, of course, likes the horse. So, I thought Did It Dialed was super interesting in here. And there's a couple of others in here that I don't think anybody else has mentioned. So first off, let's talk about the 2 horse Remy's Moon for George Weaver. This is a horse that out of Jacobson barn into the Weaver barn, a rat up last time out, and has basically runs a very, very nice career top. And I think there's every reason to believe that's kind of the real horse. And I don't know if a rad made the difference. I don't know if the I don't know what happened, but interesting to see Weaver go back up in class a little here for that one out of the last. Keeps a rad up. Seems like a rad kind of has this horse pretty well figured out, and a rad and George Weaver historically have been very, very high percentages together. So I thought Remy's Moon was real interesting. And the other horse and I think it was Nick that was alluding to the fact that Aragona has made a big case for Thrilla, the 5, who's a horse that I really, really like in here, actually. Part of this pace complexion, there is a fair bit of pace in here, but Thrilla is it should be your kind of inside drawn pace play if they want to go with this horse. And I thought the Keeneland efforts for this one 3 back was, arguably one of the better races in the field. Interesting to see that horse gets into Dale Romans' barn, who is much higher percentage than the Keith DeSorma barn. You're getting Corey Lannery, who has not been having the best of, I don't know, the best of times. Let's put it that way. He was riding pretty atrociously, but if we can get a decent one out of Corey Lannery, I think Thrilla at a big price is actually super interesting in this spot. A horse that definitely needs the right trip, but should get the right draw to be inside drawn and has some tactical speed to kind of stay out of trouble. So I thought Thrilla was interesting in here.
Yeah, I don't know. Anything else in here, Caleb?
No, I mean, I think it's a tough race.
Yeah.
Kind of this race is, a large part of the reason why I think I need to be, skinny in a race like the QE2 and a few others. But yeah, I mean, it's a good sequence. It's tough. I think it could pay pretty well. And if the pick six does triple carry, this is going to be a bear of a pick six.
Well,
How are we getting to a triple? How are we getting to a triple carry? I'm just confused because didn't it paid out today, right?
I don't think so. Didn't it double carry?
No, I thought it paid out today.
I
Unless
didn't look, I was going off what Josh said, so blame him.
Why did
I
I
mean,
see?
I saw like I thought I saw a payout. Unless that was a 5 out of 6 payout, but it was like I thought it was like 8K.
Oh, maybe I misread something or missaw something.
Hold on.
I see 103,000 for a carry. It looks like.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I see 5 to 6. Yeah, 5
okay,
to 6.
it was 5 or 6. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
My ADW sometimes doesn't show 5 or 6 for a 6 or 6. So, okay,
Nice 5
okay,
or 6 for 8,500.
Yeah.
Jeez, seriously, yeah.
Dude, I think I went 4 or 6 if I remember correctly. I think I was close, but
So if tomorrow carries, we get a monster on Saturday. That's cool. Very cool.
fuck, that means I got to play tomorrow. Damn it. I hate
Were
playing
you
the pick
not-
six.
Don't lie.
Well,
you
I
were
mean, I'll
gonna-
play, but I
you're-
just like
you're
I
gonna
don't-
play anyway. So stop it. Come on, stop it.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us here at On the Wrong Lead. Obviously, check us out at onthewronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. Mark is at 2 Turns. Caleb at Caleb WVU. We had an episode of Drinking Champagne that came out last night, so you can check that out on our YouTube channel. We'll have an episode of You've Got to Be Shot-Tinning Me out tomorrow night. So we got lots of content here coming for you guys. So check that out. Check out our friends at AM Wager. Obviously, link in the description. And check out our friends at DRF. Have a good weekend, guys. Let's make some money.